Hey, look, come here. I'm gonna arrest you on. All right, this is just for the time being. Come on, register. Keep your head low, man.
Man, listen, if you thought the Kodak Black situation was already messy, buckle up, because insiders are now saying things behind the scenes have taken a turn so dramatic, so unexpected, so downright unbelievable that even people close to him are whispering, yeah, this might be the breaking point. Overnight, a leaked phone call hit the internet. No context, no date, no confirmation. But the voice in that clip, it sounded exactly like Kodak, frustrated, pacing, breathing heavy, saying, "Nah bro, that ain't how it happened. Stop twisting my words." Fans were shocked, emotions ran high instantly, and the entire rap community froze like time stopped. But that wasn't even the wild part. Minutes after the leak surfaced, an alleged insider, like someone who claims to be connected to his team, dropped a cryptic message saying, "This is only half of what went down. The real story drops soon." And that one sentence set the entire internet on fire. People started speculating about fallout within Yak's circle, family drama, friends switching sides, secret conversations, and private meetings that supposedly got way more heated than anybody knows. Then, out of nowhere, a brand new video appeared online, showing Kodak in a backstage hallway arguing with someone just out of frame. You can't see who it is, but you can hear a voice yell, "You lied, bro, just be real about it." Kodak throws his hands up like he's had enough, saying, "I ain't gotta explain myself to nobody." Fans went crazy. Bloggers jumped on live streams half awake. Screenshots spread everywhere. Suddenly it wasn't just drama, it was a full-scale meltdown unfolding in real time. And insiders are saying this is only the beginning. The situation reportedly gets way worse from here. The moment that backstage hallway clip dropped, everything shifted, not just online, but inside Kodak's entire inner circle. What fans didn't know, and what insiders claim has been bubbling for weeks, is that the tension surrounding him wasn't just about one argument, one misunderstanding, or one leaked call. It was a buildup of emotional pressure, strained relationships, and people around him feeling torn between loyalty and exhaustion. As the internet replayed the clip 100,000 times, slowing it down to analyze every expression and breath, Kodak was sitting across the country in a dim hotel suite, staring at his phone like he was watching the world talk about a version of him that didn't even feel real anymore. The suite was quiet except for the low hum of the AC and the muffled voices of his team arguing in the next room. Nobody wanted to approach him. Nobody knew what to say. One insider whispered, "He's at that point where anything gonna set him off or shut him down." And the sad part was, they weren't even talking about anger. They were talking about emotional overload. Meanwhile, social media kept erupting. Fans picked sides instantly. Some defended him fiercely, saying the clip was out of context, edited, or purposely leaked to make him look bad. Others insisted the hallway argument proved something deeper was going on behind the scenes. But the people closest to him felt something different. Worry. They could see he wasn't sleeping, wasn't eating right, just pacing around hotels and studios. Frustrated at how every tiny moment got spun into something bigger than life. Then another insider claim surfaced. Someone from his extended circle leaked that the hallway argument wasn't even the start of the drama. They said it came right after a private meeting where people he trusted confronted him about feeling unheard, ignored, or pushed aside. According to the insider, one friend slammed his hand on the table and said, "Bro, you ain't listening. You shutting everybody out." And Kodak supposedly just looked away, tired, drained, and said, "I ain't shutting y'all out. I'm shutting life out." That quote alone sent fans spiraling. Reaction channels turned it into dramatic thumbnails. TikTok editors made emotional montages, and people in comments argued for hours about what it meant. At the same time, Kodak's mom called him. Not to talk about drama, but because she sensed something was wrong. Family always knows. Her voice was soft but firm. "Baby, I've been seeing your face everywhere today. You need to calm down and breathe." Kodak didn't snap back, didn't interrupt, didn't joke. He just exhaled and said, "Ma, they twisting everything again." She replied gently, "They always will, but you don't gotta let it get to you like this." But the damage was already spreading. More leaked messages hit the internet, screenshots of someone claiming Kodak had cut off certain people, even though nobody could verify them. Fans argued endlessly about whether the screenshots were real. His team tried to figure out who could have leaked them, and frustration turned into accusations. One team member yelled, "Somebody in this room talking." "Aw, I swear it ain't coming from outside." Another person fired back, "Ain't nobody leaking nothing. Y'all believing the blogs more than the man himself." Emotions ran high, the air thick with tension and hurt feelings. But in the middle of all that, Kodak sat quietly, scrolling through comments, saying everything from "he needs to get help" to "he's the problem" to "y'all don't know what he's going through." And honestly, he didn't know which comment stung more, the ones attacking him or the ones pretending they understood him. At one point, his manager sat down beside him and said, "You know this gonna blow over, right?" Kodak didn't even look up from his phone. "They don't want it to blow over," he said. "They want a circus." His manager sighed, rubbing his forehead. "Then don't give them one." But the problem was, one, it didn't matter what Kodak did, the internet was writing the story for him. Then came the twist nobody expected. Late that night, a new insider, someone claiming to be part of the hallway argument, released a voice note describing the scene. In the voice note, they said, "Man, people think it was beef or something. It wasn't that. It was deeper. It was folks telling Yak they feel like he different now. They feel like he ain't the same person he was before everything got so loud." The voice note continued. "He wasn't yelling cause he was mad. He was yelling because he felt misunderstood. He kept saying, 'Stop painting me out like I'm the bad guy.'" That one line turned the whole internet upside down. Suddenly, fans weren't just angry, they were emotional. Some said they felt bad for him. Others said the people around him needed to communicate better. Some said he needed a break from the spotlight. And then the biggest shock, a fan posted a video claiming Kodak went live on a burner account and vented for 20 minutes. The video was grainy and shaky, but the voice sounded familiar. In the clip, he supposedly said, "Everybody using me for a storyline. Ain't nobody checking if I'm okay for real." Fans were stunned. Some believed it instantly. Others insisted it was AI. But whether real or fake, the clip exploded online, shifting the conversation from drama to concern. Back in his hotel suite, Kodak finally stepped away from his phone, walked toward the window, and pressed his forehead against the glass. The city lights below looked blurry, distorted, kind of like how his life felt lately. His cousin walked in quietly and said, "Unc, you gotta talk to us. We all feel like you drifting." Kodak didn't turn around. He just whispered, "Maybe I am." And that moment, quiet, soft, human, was the moment insiders later said made everything worse, because it showed just how deeply all of this was affecting him. And the scariest part, the internet hadn't seen anything yet. As morning crept in, Kodak's hotel suite felt heavier than ever, not because of anything he had done, but because of everything people thought he had done. The internet was still in hysteria mode, dissecting every pixel of the leaked hallway clip, every syllable of the alleged burner account live, every whisper from supposed insiders who may or may not have even been in the same building as him. And while fans argued endlessly, the people closest to Kodak, started unraveling under their own pressure. His cousin, who stayed up most of the night pacing in the kitchen, finally sat down across from him and said, "You acting like you alone in this, but we here. We been here." Kodak didn't snap or argue, he just stared at the bottle of water in his hands, like he didn't even recognize the person everyone online was describing. "That's the problem," he muttered. "Everybody here, but nobody hearing me." His cousin exhaled sharply, frustrated not with him, but with the situation. "Bro, look, we know the internet lying. We know they twisting everything, but when you shut down, when you push us out, it make it look like you running from something. That line stung, not because it was an attack, but because it was the closest anyone had come to saying what he feared the most. That the world had started misunderstanding him so deeply that even the people he trusted were struggling to distinguish truth from noise. Meanwhile, social media was feeding off the chaos like it was oxygen. Twitter threads were 3,000 comments long, with fans posting wild theories like he fired half his team last night, or he's falling out with family, or he's about to announce something huge. Some fans tried to defend him, saying everyone needed to leave him alone, but their voices were drowned out by people desperate for more drama. YouTube thumbnails got even wilder. Breaking Kodak breakdown caught on tape. Insider claims Yak might step away from music? This just got way worse for Kodak. And while all of that went viral, Kodak's team held a private meeting in the suite next door, their voices low but sharp. One team member, exhausted and on the verge of a headache, said, "If one more fake leak drops, this whole thing gonna get out of hand." Another replied, "It's already out of hand. We need to get ahead of the story." But his manager, calm but clearly stressed, shook his head. "We not feeding the blogs. If we speak now, they twist it. If Yak speaks now, they twist it worse." Someone at the back of the room muttered, "Then what do we do?" And that was the problem. Nobody had an answer. The industry doesn't give manuals on how to survive being a trending topic against your will. Meanwhile, in another city, one of Kodak's closest friends, someone who had known him long before fame, posted a message online saying, I don't know who leaking or lying, but y'all making it worse for him. Chill out." That post got screenshotted instantly, shared across every major page, and twisted into headlines like, "Kodak's friend exposes inner circle drama," even though that's not what he meant at all. Insider accounts started adding even more fuel by claiming Kodak felt betrayed by people around him, others saying those people felt betrayed by him, and suddenly it turned into a narrative about trust falling apart from every direction. But the truth was far simpler and far sadder. Everyone in his life felt helpless. Back in the hotel, Kodak finally walked out of his room, his face blank but his energy heavy. "Y'all think I did something wrong," he said quietly. Not accusing, just hurt. His manager shook his head. "Not wrong, just quiet." Kodak blinked slowly. "I'm processing that. So I gotta update everybody on my feelings every time something go viral?" His manager hesitated. "No, but when everybody worried, you can't disappear." Kodak rubbed his temples, frustration boiling inside. "I don't disappear. Y'all stop looking for me when the internet start talking for me." That line hit the room like a punch. They weren't expecting him to articulate it so clearly, but the emotional tension wasn't coming only from Kodak. Some of his team felt overwhelmed too. One longtime friend stood up abruptly and said, "I ain't gonna lie. This whole situation making all of us feel like we walking on glass." Kodak's eyes softened a little, the first break in his expression all morning. "I ain't want that for y'all," he whispered. Meanwhile, fans kept spiraling online. A new insider account popped up claiming Kodak was planning a public statement, which led to thousands of comments begging him to speak his truth. But at that exact moment, Kodak wasn't thinking about statements. He was thinking about the way people around him were crumbling emotionally because the internet demanded a storyline instead of understanding. Then things took another turn. Someone leaked a blurry photo of him sitting on the hotel balcony, head in his hands. The photo spread like wildfire. Fans panicked, claiming he was breaking down, while bloggers wrote captions like, "Prayers up." But nobody mentioned the truth. He wasn't breaking down. He was breathing. For the first time all morning, he was just breathing. Inside, the team kept talking, the argument softening into confessions. Someone said, "Bro, oi, we not mad at you, we just scared for you." And those words cracked something inside Kodak. Not anger, not sadness, just vulnerability. "Y'all scared for me," he said slowly. "But who's scared for me? When I'm scared of myself sometimes." His cousin stepped forward immediately, eyes wide. "Then say that, bro. We can't help if you shut down." Kodak swallowed hard, the weight of everything pressing down on him. "I ain't used to being helped," he admitted. "I'm used to surviving." The room fell into complete silence. Everyone looked at him with a mix of heartbreak, guilt, and relief, because that was the first time he'd been honest in days. But just as the atmosphere finally began to soften, a phone buzzed loudly on the table. Someone picked it up, stared at the screen, and said, "Yak, you're trending again." Kodak didn't even ask why. He just sighed and whispered, "Of course I am." The situation had officially gone way beyond anything he expected, and insiders would later claim this was the moment everything truly started spiraling. The moment his team said he was trending again, Kodak didn't rush to check his phone. He just closed his eyes like he already knew whatever it was would make everything 10 times worse. And he was right, because while he was inside opening up for the first time in hours, the internet was exploding over a brand new clip posted by someone claiming to be a close friend of his. A shaky video of Kodak on FaceTime with someone, raising his voice, pacing, saying, "Stop bringing me into things I ain't say." The clip didn't show who he was talking to, didn't show the beginning or end of the conversation, didn't show any context at all. Fun, but that didn't matter. People took those few seconds and built full stories out of them. He's arguing with his team again, some fans said. He's cutting people off. Others insisted. He's spiraling out of control, a gossip page captioned. But the truth, he wasn't arguing with anyone in the room. That video was from 2 days ago, a misunderstanding with a promoter about scheduling, a completely unrelated moment. But because it leaked now, right in the middle of everything, the internet merged it into the current drama, and suddenly it became evidence for something that wasn't even real. Inside the hotel suite, his cousin grabbed the phone from the table, stared at the trending clip, and muttered, "Bro, they really trying to break you." Kodak finally opened his eyes, walked over, and watched the clip silently. Not shocked, not surprised. Just tired. "So now everything I ever argued about is part of this?" he asked quietly. His manager nodded slowly, frustrated. "This the internet, yak. They gon' connect dots that ain't never supposed to touch." Kodak let out a humorless laugh. "Man, they out here drawing constellations with dots that ain't even on the same page." Meanwhile, fan pages were going wild. Reaction channels went live instantly, shouting, "Y'all, we got new footage." Some fans begged them to stop spreading misinformation, but the louder voices drowned them out. TikTok creators posted videos analyzing his tone, his body language, even the shadows behind him like they were forensic experts. One creator said, "Look at the way he grabs his head here. That means he feels guilt." Another responded, "No, it means he feels attacked." And just like that, Kodak's emotional state became a public debate for millions of strangers who didn't know him personally, didn't know the real situation, didn't know the pressure he'd been under for weeks. Back in the suite, the tension was building again. But this time it wasn't anger, it was worry. His team kept glancing at each other, unsure how to help him without making things worse. Finally, one of his closest friends sat beside him and said, "Yak, you need a break, bro. Not from us, from them." Kodak stared at the floor. "I can't take a break from the internet if the internet don't take a break from me." His friend nodded slowly, understanding the painful truth in that sentence. "Then we gotta shut all this noise out. Just us. Just the real people who love you." But shutting out the noise wasn't possible. Not when every second brought another twist. Another insider page claimed that Kodak's family was divided over the situation, even though nobody in his family had said anything publicly. Another page claimed people in his circle didn't feel safe emotionally, twisting his earlier private conversation into sensationalism. And the worst part, a rumor spread that someone in his own crew was leaking clips for attention. The entire team froze when they saw that trending. Immediately, suspicion filled the room. Side eyes, tension, silence so thick it felt like the air itself didn't want to move. His cousin said, "Aye, let's dead that right now. Ain't nobody in here leaking nothing." But the rumor planted a seed of doubt, and the internet watered it non-stop. Kodak could feel the pressure growing between his people. A kind of distrust that came from the outside but seeped inward. "This what they want," he said quietly, "for us to turn on each other." His manager agreed. That's how the blogs survive. Drama brings attention. Attention brings clicks. They ain't thinking about the damage they doing. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, fans began gathering, holding up phones, hoping he would come out and address the situation. Some yelled encouragement, some begged for answers, some recorded videos saying, "Yak, we riding for you." The love was overwhelming, but also suffocating. It reminded him that no matter where he went, someone was watching, recording, judging, expecting him to either perform or explain. That's when things took another drastic turn. A new insider rumor claimed Kodak was having a fallout with someone extremely close to him, someone fans respected and knew he had a long history with. The rumor didn't name anyone, didn't provide proof, didn't even make sense logically, yet it spread like wildfire because it was dramatic enough to catch attention. Kodak's cousin slammed his phone down on the table. "Bruh, they making up people now? Who they even talking about?" Kodak didn't answer. His silence scared them more than if he had yelled. Silence meant the weight was getting heavier. Silence meant he was internalizing. Silence meant he was withdrawing. His friend sat across from him and said, "If you don't talk to somebody soon, the internet can talk for you again." Kodak finally looked up, frustration simmering beneath his calm exterior. "So what you want me to do? To go live and cry for them? Make a statement they twist? Give them more ammo?" "No," his friend said softly. "Talk to us." But before he could respond, someone knocked on the door. The entire room tensed, exchanging nervous looks. The manager approached the door cautiously, opened it, and froze for a second. Standing there was someone from Kodak's past, someone he hadn't spoken to in a long time, someone who never came around unless things were serious. The room fell silent as the person stepped inside slowly, eyes scanning the scene, taking in the tension, the exhaustion, the emotional wreckage. "I heard what's going on," they said quietly. "Came to check on you." Kodak stared at them, stunned. Not because they showed up, but because they were the last person he expected to walk through that door when everything felt like it was collapsing around him. And according to insiders, this was the moment everything shifted again, for better or for worse. When that unexpected figure from Kodak's past stepped into the hotel suite, the entire room shifted. Every conversation, every argument, every anxious whisper died instantly, as if the air itself held its breath. This wasn't a casual friend or someone who came around for attention. This was someone Kodak respected deeply, someone he once leaned on for guidance before fame twisted his world into noise. For a moment, Kodak just stared at them, his expression frozen somewhere between shock and relief. Like he couldn't decide whether he wanted to hug them or question why they were suddenly here. The person approached him slowly, their voice low and calm. "You look tired, man." Kodak didn't argue, didn't hide behind sarcasm, didn't pretend he was okay. He just nodded once, the weight of the past 24 hours sitting heavy on his chest. His team stepped back, forming a quiet semicircle, almost grateful someone else was stepping in, someone who might finally get through to him. The newcomer continued, "I've been hearing everything the internet's saying, the leaks, the arguments, the rumors about your team, but I ain't come here to talk about none of that." Kodak blinked, confused. "Then why you come?" The person paused, studying him with a gaze only someone who knew him before all of this could give. Because nobody's asking how you feel. They asking what you did. They asking what you said. They asking what you meant. But nobody asking how your heart holding up. That line cracked something open in Kodak that even his closest people hadn't reached. His shoulders sank slightly, a small exhale slipping out, like someone finally pulled a thorn out of his chest. His cousin stepped forward, quietly wiping at his face, trying to hide the emotion hitting him too. But before anyone could speak again, Kodak's phone buzzed violently on the table. Not a notification this time, but a call. The name flashing across the screen made everyone freeze. It was someone he hadn't spoken to since the second backstage clip leaked. Someone who was part of the drama. Someone fans were convinced he was beefing with behind the scenes. Kodak looked at the phone, then at the room, eyes of hesitation flooding his face. "Y'all think I should answer?" he murmured. His team exchanged glances. The newcomer placed a hand on his shoulder. "If you don't answer, things gon' get worse. If you do, they might get better." Kodak swallowed hard, grabbed the phone, and stepped out onto the balcony. The door closed behind him, muffling the city sounds. Inside, everyone waited anxiously, staring at the glass door like it was the gateway to peace or another explosion. Kodak answered, "Hello?" The voice on the other side didn't yell, didn't accuse, didn't sound angry. It sounded hurt. "Bro, why you let the internet make it look like we beefing?" Kodak rubbed his forehead in frustration. "I ain't let nothing happen. They took clips, twisted them, made up the rest." The voice sighed, emotional. "Yak, you know how it looked. Yeah, you know how it made me look. People in my DMs talking crazy, saying we fell out, saying you said this and that." Kodak leaned against the balcony railing, staring out at the skyline. "Did I say any of that?" The voice hesitated. "No." "Did I post anything about you?" No." "Did I mention you once?" Another long silence, then, no. Kodak finally said, "So why you believing everybody but me?" That question hit hard. Even those inside the hotel could see it in the other person's reaction through the glass. Their shoulders slumped. "I ain't gonna lie, I got caught up in it. Everybody talking, everybody sending me clips, telling me you switching up." Kodak's voice softened. "You know me better than the blogs, bro." "I know," the voice whispered. "That's why I'm calling now." Inside, his team watched as Kodak's posture changed, the tension in his shoulders easing, his breath slowing, his energy shifting from defensive to something more vulnerable. He wasn't arguing, he wasn't shutting down, he was finally talking. The voice on the phone continued, "I miss how we used to be, bro. Before all the noise, before everybody had an opinion on every move we made." Kodak closed his eyes, the pain in that truth hitting deep. "Me too. So let's fix it." Kodak nodded slowly, wiping his face with the back of his hand. "Yeah, let's fix it." Just as the tension began to dissolve, someone inside knocked gently on the glass. His manager mouthed, "Yak, you need to see this." Kodak told the caller, "Hold on," then walked inside. One look at the manager's phone and his brief moment of peace shattered, and a new insider rumor was trending. This one claiming Kodak's mysterious visitor had been arguing with his team, threatening to expose them, stirring drama. None of it was true. The person didn't argue, didn't threaten. They were literally sitting on the couch drinking water. But the photo someone took, blurry, zoomed in through a window, made it look like tension, and the caption added the gasoline. "Kodak's circle is falling apart." The newcomer looked at the photo, then around the room. Damn, they really making stories out of shadows. Kodak rubbed his temples. This what I'm saying. Anything they see, they turn into a movie. His cousin stepped up beside him. Then we gotta give them the real story instead of letting them write it. Kodak shook his head. They don't want the real story. Oh, and they want drama. Then give them something, his manager said. Before this ruins relationships that shouldn't be ruined. Kodak exhaled deeply, looking from his team to his cousin, to the person from his past, to the phone still in his hand, and finally back to the balcony. And insiders would later say this was the moment he made a decision that would flip the entire situation on its head. He whispered, almost to himself, "Okay, they want to hear from me? They'll hear from me." And that was the moment everything was about to explode again, but this time on his terms. When the dust finally settled, when Kodak stepped back inside that hotel room with 1,000 eyes watching his next move, the entire internet held its breath. Fans refreshed their timelines like their lives depended on it. On blogs prepared headlines in advance. Reaction channels waited with fingers hovering over the go live button. Everybody, and I mean everybody, knew something huge was coming, but what nobody expected was the emotional wave behind it. After a full day of leaks, rumors, insider claims, misinterpretations, shaky footage, and people twisting the smallest details into entire storylines, Kodak stood there surrounded by the people who actually mattered. Not the internet, not the blogs, not the spectators, but his real inner circle. And instead of breaking, he finally started rebuilding. The conversations that happened behind those closed doors, the vulnerability he showed, the honesty he allowed himself to feel. Those were the moments that shifted everything. Not the drama, not the mess, not the rumors, the humanity. Oh, but even with all that progress, the questions remain. Will he clear the air publicly? Will the people who drifted away come back into his life? Will the circle tighten or fracture even more? Will the internet ever stop twisting everything he does into a spectacle? And most importantly, what does Kodak do next? That's the part nobody knows. That's the part every fan is waiting for. And that's the part that might turn this entire situation upside down again. If you're watching right now, don't go anywhere. This story is far from over. Hit that like button so this gets pushed to everyone who's been following this roller coaster. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next update the moment it drops. And drop a comment below telling us what you think. Who was right? Who was wrong? And what should Kodak do moving forward? Your voice matters. Let's talk about it.